In the heat of the moment, I genuinely forgot that they existed, which would be much less embarrassing if the heat of the moment weren't a month and a half of chapter releases. Hello, my wonderful viewers, and welcome to another episode of Betty Adams Overanalyzes. Today we are going to be taking a fully spoilery look at Kaiju number 8, chapter 115. If you don't want to hear any spoilers, you can go check out the link below the video to pre-order yourself a copy of my book, Hidden Fires. Dragons, aliens, and things that go boom in the night. 85,000 words of science fantasy adventure. Before chapter 115 dropped, there was a lot of discussions about what was going to happen next. Was Mina going to actually die? Some of us were actually beginning to wonder, would a main character's plot armor fail? Was Mina going to die? I mean, the Director General did. And even though this is a classic Shonen Jump manga, even though it'd be nearly impossible for a main character to die at this point in the story, I felt, honestly, that it would be possible. People were discussing options like Bako jumping in to rescue her, or would the entire next chapter just be in Kafka's headspace as he and the dying Kaiju number 8 finally managed to link up and communicate? Would one of those Apaches bring in a weapon? What was going to happen here? Would Reno pull off a long-distance range shot? See, Matsumoto had set this up that he had very carefully not mentioned a few particular characters for several chapters. And he had drawn our attentions to Bako, to Kafka, to Okanagi and the other controls in the command head center, to Kaiju number 9. And we were completely focused in on Kafka and Mina. And so then, when the big reveal comes, it's perfectly logical. It's a perfect corkscrew plot twist. When the big reveal comes, it is probably one of the single most classic Shonen Jump manga tropes ever to be overplayed by every single manga and anime that has a combat theme. In the pinch, the team comes together and the rivals come together and they save the day. Or they haven't saved the day yet, but we now have both Narumi, who, after his big fight, has actually had several minutes to catch his breath and rest, and Hoshina. Now, they've both gone past their 10-minute maximum release limit. They've both been using hyper-strong weapons for prolonged periods of time, so they're nowhere near their peak performance. The best they can do is distract this thing that used to be Kaiju number 9 until Kafka gets back on his feet. And oh, Kafka, that is just such a beautiful moment, and it's so small, but it is so important to me. The control operators, Okanogi, they refer to the one battling on the field as Kaiju number 8. In their mind, he's the weaponized form. Now, it's probably not unique to Kafka. They probably do see Kafka as a person now, but they are so used to seeing their officers as pieces on the chessboard that they don't think of them as people when they're out there battling. They are valuable resources to be preserved, but resources to be used. That is just the natural consequence of sitting behind a screen and directing the combat. Whereas the people on the field, such as Vice Captain Hoshina, who bonded with Kafka over their shared interests, who bonded over their rivalry. Vice Captain Hoshina, who came to Kafka and said, you don't have to turn into Kaiju number 8. You don't have to sacrifice your humanity. I'm going to be out there. I'll take care of you because you're one of my officers. You, are a human being who is put under my care. It doesn't matter that you're twice my age. It doesn't matter that you are inherently way more powerful than I am when you transform. I've got Kaiju number 10 as a weapon. Now I'll protect you. And when we see Vice Captain Hoshina go onto the field, he's still holding on to that, but he's doing it with respect to the fact that Kafka is a fellow warrior, and he has to respect Kafka's choice to be out there on the battlefield fighting. He goes in and he tells Mina, you take care of Kafka, and he specifically says Kafka, not Officer Hibino, not Kaiju number 8. Vice Captain Hoshina is running in there to save Kafka as a human being, as a person, as an officer under his care, as much as he is doing anything else. And that is just such a beautiful testimony to the true heroism that Matsumoto has written into this character. Vice Captain Hoshina, for all of his obvious surface level flaws, is a hero. He is a true Shonen Jump protagonist. And I just love that about him. And there's these deep, really, truly deep moments that tie into that close human-to-human connection. And then you just have this silly surface level rivalry that we end the chapter on, with Narumi saying something about, "Isn't that right, you ugly bowl cut," when he's referring to Vice Captain Hoshina. This is truly an Aragorn moment. Because remember, Aragorn was the lost heir in the fantasy series. He was the true king. He's got semi-magical powers. He's a trained warrior. He's tall. He's reasonably good looking. You'd think the story would have ended on him, but no, the true heir is not the hero of the story. He uses himself as a distraction. He completely humbles himself and lets the final blow in the battle go to the humble hobbit Frodo. In the same way, you have this heir of a dynasty, Vice Captain Hoshina, stepping up and saying, "I'm not going to be able to do much here. I'm near my limit, but I can distract this thing for long enough to get the big guns onto the field." I really, really enjoyed that aspect of it. There are so many layers of wholesome goodness in this story. It's like when C.S. Lewis talked about the first time he read one of George MacDonald's books. He read this book called Fantasies, which was a story, which was a bunch of fairy tales. And even though he was a rough and tumble teenager by that point, it really resonated with Lewis. And Lewis said he didn't understand why, but it was the goodness in the story that just kept him reading this book of fairy tales. Same thing here. There is an inherent wholesome goodness in Matsumoto's writing that gets me every time. But what do you think, my wonderful viewers? What was your favorite part of this chapter? Was it the playful rivalry between Hoshina and Narumi, or was it that true human-to-human moment that shows that on the battlefield, it's not the big things. It's not protecting Japan. It's not protecting the world from a kaiju being overcome by kaiju it's not the big ideals that's driving Vice Captain Hoshina forward. He's one of his officers, it's one of his brothers is there on the battlefield, and he's going to protect him no matter what. Leave a comment below telling me what you think. Hit that like and subscribe button, and go get yourself a copy of my book, Hidden Fires, Dragons, Aliens, and Things That Go Boom in the Night.
Escape into another world with the writings of author Betty Adams. Two worlds, one of utter absurdity, one of dramatic tension, both alike in aliens absolutely astounded by human behavior. Humans are weird, short, absurd science fiction stories. Flying sparks, dragons, aliens, and things that go boom in the night.
Books available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Kobo by Rakuten, Google Play Books, and at authorBettyAdams.com for a signed copy.